guys, it's Niles from E4Economy, and welcome to Subnautica. I know it's kind of a somewhat old game now, but I only just recently started playing it, earlier this year actually. And one of the reasons why I started playing it kind of ties into the topic I wanted to talk about today, which is how to find your Zen. And this is based on a blog post that I put up fairly early on when I first started the website, on some different methods that I've used to kind of help me cope and sort of deal with the stress and anxieties that 2020 kind of brought about. So I figured, especially now at the end of this year and kind of reflecting back on everything going on, there might also be some anxiety about what's to come. And I figured now might be a good time to sort of go over these different methods on how you can learn to control that anxiety and everything. So I thought I might do that while playing Subnautica, because this is one of those games that I found, at least in the free form mode or whatever it's called, it's been pretty relaxing. Obviously survival mode and the hardcore mode is extremely stressful, so I definitely don't recommend playing that if the whole object of playing it is to kind of calm down and chill out. So today we're going to be taking a look at the kind of free play mode, where you don't really have to worry about dying of starvation or thirst or anything. I've already played through the game, but unfortunately it looks like I lost my save. Whatever. So we're just going to start right from the beginning. Why not? If you've never seen this game before, this should be a good introduction. So yeah, I guess let's get into it. So I realize this introduction is maybe kind of contradictory to what we are going to be discussing today. Obviously, that seems like a pretty stressful situation to be in. But once you get past this part, it's pretty chill. But just to start, I wanted to emphasize how important it is for us to learn to manage our anxieties and the things that stress us out in a healthy way, because those kind of issues, they tend to be precursors to other issues down the line, whether it be high blood pressure or definitely high blood pressure. I'm blanking on other things, but obviously it has effects on things like, your dietary health, for example. Okay, we're on fire. Hang on a sec. Okay. There, done. All right, fantastic. So, that sucks. Whatever, I'll just use it. Not that I need it or anything, but... Okay, so, getting back to my point, learning how to manage stress and anxiety. Man, can you imagine being in a situation like that? That would suck. I don't know how I'd manage that. I don't think deep breathing would help, which is funny because that's the first thing, one of the first methods to deal with it. Deep breathing. Anyway, people tend to neglect the most obvious answers, and one of the easiest ways to deal with stress, especially in the moment, is just taking a deep breath. And there are, you're literally just talking about taking a moment, pausing whatever you're doing, and just breathing in, holding it, and then out. And, do that for a few times or whatever before actually getting back to your normal breathing. Maybe about 5 or 6 times. And there's, I don't think that the length of time on how much you breathe in and everything matters so much as just taking that moment to pause and do it. And that's probably, that is going to be the hardest part, taking that moment to just stop whatever it is that you're doing or whatever it is that's freaking you out, and taking in a deep breath, holding it, and then just letting it go. Right now, I'm basically in free mode. I can't remember what it's called, but in the standard mode, you have to eat and you have to drink and all this stuff on a regular basis. Or what was that? Okay. But the point of this game is, it's a survival game. So you have to figure out what happened to your ship, where you are, and how to get off the planet, basically. And that's the gist of it. So, early stages of this game are super calm and tranquil and very pretty, actually. Later on, it gets pretty freaky, but for right now, it's easy. I keep pressing escape instead. Some of the first things you have to do, have to make a repair tool. I forgot how to do that again. But you see that there's all sorts of things that you can craft and stuff like that. And right now, we need to make that. So you got to find silicone rubber, cave sulfur, and titanium, and you get that literally by just swimming around in the ocean and discovering things, materials, whatever. And that's about it. Deep breathing is great for in the moment, but one of the other things that we need to keep in mind is our diet also plays a very large role in how we can manage stress and anxiety. And it's been demonstrated that certain foods can actually make us more prone to things like anxiety attacks and other health issues that would give us stress. And, we're talking about processed foods, excess sugar, things like that. And so one of the recommendations is that you should incorporate things like fish and dark chocolate and fruits and things high in antioxidants. Those are good for helping you deal with stress. I don't need this, but whatever. I need it right now anyway. I'm literally just swimming around picking up random crap. And see how peaceful it is? Look at that. That thing is so peaceful and weird looking. And it farted. I forgot it does that. But see how at peace that thing is? I mean, it didn't care that it had company. It was just going to let loose anyway. But anyway, so you want to keep in mind the kind of foods that you eat. Both things that you want to eat and what you don't want to eat. And I understand that that's difficult, especially when you're stressed. Like the last thing you want to do is pick up a carrot. And, you probably just want to gorge yourself on pizza and ice cream, or maybe that's just me, especially if you're lactose intolerant. I mean, that's if you're lactose intolerant, don't do that. You're just going to give yourself more stress. Now, the other topic that I wanted to get into, just based on the blog, is I know there was this whole section basically titled Defying Depression. And, that it's a pretty serious concern for a lot of us, whether we think we're depressed or not, because a lot of the times people don't even realize they might actually be depressed. But there's certain signs to look out for. And, right away I want to say that if you are depressed about anything, or if you realize that you're depressed about anything, don't freak out. Don't think, oh man, something's wrong with me and this and that. And I'm not saying it's okay to stay depressed. I'm just saying it's understandable to be depressed. Especially with everything that we have to deal with, even during a good year. The important thing is that you make that first step to get help in whatever form is necessary. And the other thing that I want to say that's okay, and I realize there's a stigma associated with it even now, if you need medication to manage your depression, that's okay. But, obviously, Get medication from a professional who knows what they're doing. Don't try to self-medicate. That's definitely not okay. But you know, if you're dealing with depression, it's I want you to understand that it's not through any fault of your own, or something that you're doing wrong. There's a lot that we're all dealing with, and it it can happen to even the strongest of us. When you realize you're in that situation, that's the most important first step that you can make. You have to acknowledge it. Then once you do that, you can move on to other methods of coping and dealing with it. And one of those being, not just getting medication or anything like that, but also make an effort to talk to people, talk to friends, talk to family, people who you trust, people who you know are going to be more understanding about the situation that you're in, and the kind of help you may need. Anyway, getting back to what I was talking about, it's important to speak to somebody, and one of the things I like to keep in mind when it comes to speaking to somebody or socializing or anything like that is always go for quality over quantity. You don't need to throw some big lavish party or something like that and have a bunch of your friends all crammed in one place, especially not now. Don't do that. But you want to make sure you're going to speak to somebody who is going to give you the time and attention you need, who's going to take that time to understand what you're going through and dealing with it. You don't want to just pick any random person, basically, because that might actually end up doing you more harm than good. So be thoughtful about who you go to with your problems. By all means, look for that person to speak to them. And the other thing, and I realize a lot of this stuff that I am going to recommend doing, obviously it's not the easiest thing to do. It's not always easy to find that moment to take and just breathe and relax. It's not always easy to eat the right thing when you're not feeling well, or any of these things. It's going to take practice. It's going to take time, kind of getting that habit ingrained into you. And so if you don't do it the first time, the second, third, fourth, however long it takes you to do it, just don't give up on doing it. Just keep striving to improve those habits, because that's what's going to benefit you in the long run. One of the other things that you can use to cope with depression is, exercise. And again, I know it's not always easy for people to do or even want to do. It actually wasn't really easy for me to get into exercising either. But over the years, once I figured out the different kind of routines that I actually enjoyed doing, it was something I started looking forward to. And so that's one of the things to keep in mind when it comes to exercising. You're not going to like everything. Maybe you don't feel like jogging or doing push-ups or whatever, but you happen to like doing pull-ups or jumping squats. I like doing all four of those things. Anyway, there's so many studies out there that shows how beneficial exercise is, because it releases all sorts of chemicals in your brain that makes you happier as well. But you're going to feel better doing it, and you're going to be healthier for doing it. And when you're healthier, you're more prone to, or at least you're more resilient to being able to cope and manage with stress. The other way to manage stress and find your zen is, and this is probably one of the most obvious things when you think about finding zen and being at peace, is learning to manage your anger. And this is something that I frankly still deal with. Managing your anger is not something that you're going to learn to do overnight. over the next few weeks or even the next few years. That's a constant battle. It just is. And honestly, the best way that I found to learn how to manage my anger is the deep breathing, meditating, things like that, and definitely learning to laugh at yourself. And that's something that I realize is very difficult for people to do when they already have low self-esteem or something like that. But humor is absolutely critical when it comes to. Wait, where's that? I cooked this fish thing or whatever. Or no, I just need a med kit. What am I doing? I forgot. I don't need to eat. But yeah, learning to laugh, finding humor in situations, absolutely critical to coping with things and not letting yourself get worked up and angry over situations that a lot of the times you can't even control anyway. Oh, I was supposed to fix that thing. Anyway, so fix that. And when I talk about finding your humor, using humor anyway to deal with your anger issues or whatever it is that you have. Another key thing to keep in mind is it shouldn't be at the expense of others. You shouldn't have to make fun of somebody else to feel better about yourself. Because at the end of the day, you're just making both you and that person actually feel a little bit worse. You might think it's going to make you feel better, but it's not. Especially if you have some form of conscience, I imagine that's going to make you feel guilty, as you're being kind of a jerk. But, learn to both laugh at yourself and to laugh at your situation and everything. But at the same time, especially if you're new to this sort of thing, don't put yourself down. That's not the kind of humor we're talking about here. But even if you go and just make a silly face in the mirror, that's actually something that I wrote about because I did it. And the funny thing is, I remember making that stupid face in my office, but I don't remember the bad news I got. And I think that's pretty telling because at the end of the day, whatever it is that upset you, it's momentary for the most part, especially those kind of situations where. So it's important not to let it get to you because it's there 1 second and gone the next. And so I can't remember this. I really can't remember what it was that pissed me off so much. I just remember though I went into my office, closed the door, walked into the mirror I had on the wall, and I just stared at it and. And I did something stupid. I'm not doing it here. But yes, I made a very stupid face. One that I actually learned from my dad that he used to make when I was a little kid, so that's kind of funny. And whenever he does watch this video, if he watches this video, he's going to know exactly what kind of stupid face I'm talking about because it had a specific name to it, and we still ask him to make it to this day. But anyway, I think I'm going to end it there. Those are some of the key methods. I know it's helped me, and I'm sure it will help others, especially if any of the studies that I've read are true. I'm inclined to believe that a lot of them are. But don't give up on finding your Zen. It's not always easy to do. In fact, it rarely ever is. That's why it's so important to keep at it. It's easy to get angry. It's not easy to just let it go, and that's just the nature of life in this system that we find ourselves in. So don't give up. Keep looking for your Zen, and just reach out if you need help, whether it be to a family and friend or to a professional. Don't let anybody tell you there's something wrong with that because there isn't. And yeah, that's all I got. I hope you guys like the video. If you haven't played this game before, definitely check it out. As you can see, these are beautiful environments to swim around in. Obviously, there's a really good story to it. There's a really great mystery worth looking into. There are some terrifying moments, and anybody who says this game isn't weirdly scary is lying to you, because as beautiful as this whole bit looks, there are definitely places that are terrifying. But I love every minute of it. It was a fantastic game. I mean, oh no. No. Get away. Get away. Whatever. Definitely check it out. So, that was 5 Years Zen, and this was Subnautica. Take care, guys, and I will see you in the next one.